This is Evie with WKNC interviewing Wilson from Thirsty Curses, featuring some acoustic renditions of songs off their new album. Politics of being in a band, because I'm not gonna say it right, but like Le Prince or something like this one band, they just like replaced their lead singer, which seems like a very pivotal thing to do.
Can be, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Van Halen comes to mind. You know, there was Van Halen and then there was Van Hagar. I mean, that was like the 80s and stuff.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of, I don't think it's gonna come up, but there was this Van Greta or something like. I'm thinking of that when you said that.
Yeah.
I was
They're,
like,
they're
they
like the
switched up.
Led Zeppelin
I
rip-off bands.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of like rip-offs.
Greta Von Fleet.
Boom.
There it is.
Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't particularly care for them, I will say.
Yeah, I mean, so you said like Led Zeppelin adjacent. Like, what kind of genre would that be? Like, I was thinking folksy for some reason off the
It's
top.
like classic arena rock. I mean, like 70s. I mean, that's sort of 70s hard rock, I guess. Is sort of what Led Zeppelin falls into. But they're just very derivative in the sense that they don't really have much originality to them.
Yeah, like this band was talking about like going to a lot of shows and like being inspired, and like a lot of like creating is just being like seeing someone what they're doing and then being like, what could I do to that?
No doubt. I mean, it's sort of on a different thread, but I always find that writing lyrics can be sort of the hardest part of songwriting, and I'll find that I have a lot easier time writing lyrics if I'm like reading lots of books and things like, good enough for punk rock,
I like that. Yeah, no prim and proper.
That's what we used to always say when we were trying to tune our instruments back in the day.
I'm curious about tuning because it's like, I don't even know what sound I want. You know what I mean? Like,
well, the Western system is very, based on certain tones and the separation between each tone. Now, like if you go to like Eastern music, they won't have the same scales and sort of formulations that we have.
Oh, like totally.
So I mean that the bar reading music stuff is like a fairly new invention within like I think the last 500 years or something.
I'm curious, like, have you ever had an interest in performative art? Like, I know obviously playing live, there's a performance aspect to it, but thinking about like music is evoking, but also like weird human behaviors, like that can be pretty evoking.
Yeah, I mean, I I certainly like performing in all manners. I guess I've always been like that. A performative type. But I think too. I mean, I always liked musicals a lot. In fact, there's been some of our songs have been compared to musical numbers or something that you would hear in a musical. But yeah, I mean, I like the performing arts a great deal. I feel like too, in sort of our digital age, there's not as much of it happening. Whereas, sort of before the ubiquity of the internet, you actually had to go places to see people and things. And so there just used to be a lot more like small theaters and small troops and things creating things.
And like, then I know someone in it.
Yeah, shoot, there used to be more bands than there are now, just because, but yeah, there just isn't the same sort of demand for it at the current time. But hopefully we can break out of our COVID slumber and get back out into the world. It's funny, just from different ages, there are various skills that societies forget over time as they sort of become obsolete with, I mean, shoot, people used to have an encyclopedic knowledge of the stars because the looking up at the sky at night was such a big part of their lives. But now we live in cities where you can't even really see them hardly.
And I think we forget that we have choice in how we're going to mold our brains. And I mean, what do you think about like the current like rhetoric with like, like brain rot and like that kind of sphere?
I mean, I think there's something to a lot of that. There was a woman named Christine Rosen has a book out. It's called something along the lines of human embodiment in a disembodied world or something like that.
That sounds cool.
But it's about sort of how, or maybe it's called something about the human experience, but Christine Rosen is her name. But just how we're like sort of losing our day-to-day experiences the more and more we go online, and that sort of these, when you're actually immersed in a situation, talking face to face, there's just so many experiences that go, along with that, even just driving here, or like stopping to get gas, the person you talk to, and like actually
Yeah.
connecting with people is something that does seem to be losing its prevalence. I'd like to, especially being a musician and playing lots of shows, I'd like to see us get back out into the world a little more and get out from behind the screens. But I can certainly understand the draw. It's comfortable. You get these like dopamine hits when you've posted something and it's getting all kinds of engagement or something. So we're getting so many things now in snippets, and our
Mm.
sort of attention span is uh, is a lot shorter than it used to be. It seems.
What do you think about techno feudalism and that idea that like we're moving into the digital sphere and there are these like three or four conglomerate men that own them and we work and tend to their digital sphere like volunteering online on social media for hours a day and they control that sphere and like now they're in our government. And I feel like because you're punk you might have an interest in talking politics, but again if not, don't worry.
No, I mean it's fun. I mean, sort of alongside that, I guess the AI stuff worries me more because it's going to take away so many jobs and just tasks. I mean, shoot, um, even within the arts, like editing, all sorts of things that AI can do in a snap. But just really any industry is going to be affected by it. And then you also have a few companies that'll be running these things. And we kind of already live in a preview of this. I mean, Google being the main search engine, to some degree,
Mhm.
they control what is the truth. And like certain times, like when I've been looking for something that uh, I know exists, like, but for whatever reason, Google doesn't want to prioritize as a story, it can be incredibly hard to even find, just because of the way a lot of these algorithms are written to sort of direct um, search results that maybe the searcher doesn't want, but what the powers that be want you to see. And I mean, sort of dovetailing with what you said at the onset. I mean, I think sort of the more and more that these powers are controlled by a few companies or executives or owners, a level of personality cult there, and certainly one with Trump and Elon too, and all of it's bad. And I mean, yeah, it, going back to the Soviet Union, you know, pre the rise of the communists there, it was run by the czars for several hundred years, and it was common to have in most homes to have some sort of religious iconograph,
Iconography, yeah,
yeah,
totally.
on the walls or whatever, and just what ended up replacing those over the years were portraits of Lenin and Stalin and yada yada, where it's basically these
Mm,
these figures became religious symbols in the same right. And yeah, I mean, I think that at the same time there has been sort of an uptick in religious and spiritual interest, I think, in recent years, because I think people are feeling that sort of some of the issues you just brought up. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's part of why our politics are so nasty, is because we've kind of wrapped our identities so deeply up in them that they are
mm-hmm.
supposed to indicate, if we're good people or not. And really, politics
Yeah.
is not that in any way. I mean, um, because if nothing else, mostly politics looks outward, whereas your moral decision and moral reasoning should often look inward. I have a fascination with the Bronze Age collapse in like
Please tell. I don't know much.
in like 1100 BC, roughly, is like the first record of any civilizational collapse. We don't know exactly why it happened. There's some writings about the Sea Peoples, sort of a band of marauders, basically ransacked towns, going from town to town. But we don't really know exactly what happened. But basically, the known world, and that was sort of the first Dark Ages. But I mean, I I find that era fascinating because it does kind of show to our temporary state, and like so much was destroyed from that civilization that hardly anyone that ever lived back then is of no knowledge to us now. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I think that we would do a lot better as individuals in society if we were considering these things more often, instead of sort of being wrapped up in our own day to day personal wants and needs. friend and I sometimes joke that the internet was a mistake. But I mean, I do think community has been another casualty of that. Is that again we don't interact with our neighbors as much as we can find people on the other side of the planet or whatever.
Totally.
This song's called "How to Stay Afloat." It's track 3 off our new album. Music is a Scam. The album has a full band version, but here we'll do a WKNC exclusive. There's like a triplets thing in the chorus of that one.
That's what it is. Super catchy.
It is funny though, because as I was playing it, I was like, oh, this is actually has some relevance with some of the things we were just talking about.
I was like, did you pick that on purpose?
I actually did. I mean, I was thinking about playing that one because it works well acoustically. But yeah, it's funny. It kind of does dovetail in with a lot of things we were just talking about as far as technology and not being present in the moment and things like that.
Yeah. Was that like your inspiration for it? And also, I wrote down the lyric like pigeonholed out of convenience. I like that a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was the intention of the song, but there's certainly also an element of stream of consciousness in it, and
So that was that process for the writing song, and I like how you said that like there's pieces of it, and but it's kind of a larger like idea maybe about society. Like do you I don't think there's a way to generalize a creative process or writing process, but you were saying like the hardest part is like lyrics. So I guess like how does everything fuse together and then you have a song and then a follow up to that is like, are you ever playing around and then you're like, I've gone too far. I need to subtract a little, like I've added too much. So those two ideas of like when you make a product.
Right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's some songs that do come easily, and I don't know why it is, but they'll just like it's like magic, or
Yeah,
I don't even feel like I have to do anything.
just be the vessel.
Yeah, but then sometimes yeah, it's like painstaking, and there'll be like some music piece that I really like, but can't because there's the vocal line too. There's the melody, and then there's the lyrics. So kind of coming up with both of those can sometimes be a bit of a struggle. But I mean, I also try not to push it in the sense that when I'm sitting down, if I sit down to try to write and just nothing's coming,
Yeah.
not just throw garbage up there. Because I find too, so you can end up if you leave something in that maybe you don't like too much, you get so used to it being in there, it feels weird when you cut it later.
Hmm.
Which kind of you were asking about going back later and cutting things out. I mean, sometimes, but I think also because I tend to not push things if they're not working, I don't end up in that spot very often where I've like written too much to something. Um, but I mean, a lot of times too, particularly in the band, I mean, I'll do the like writing of the basic song and then bring it to the band, and we'll kind of tinker with things as a group and kind
Yeah.
of put meat on the bones, if you will. And I mean, sometimes there's a song on this new record that just came out called "Buried by the Wave" that I think the original structure I brought it to the band. It did change a good bit, and that they wanted to lengthen out this one section that to me had initially been a bridge, but then it became the chorus. So,
Hmm.
um, but I mean, certainly I like that setup where bringing something and having others kind of tinker with it,
Yeah.
and I find that that really does end up with the best results. I've done some like solo things, and not that I don't like them, but like when you get a lot of other hands and brains on stuff, it just makes it a lot better. And also, sorry, just this new album, Music is a Scam. Um, a lot of our previous ones we did record just ourselves, like in our home studio setup. But this one, we actually went in and we worked with John Agnello, who's like a famed rock and roll producer. He's worked with a lot of bands we really like. And a friend of ours, Isaac Anderson, came into the studio for a couple days just to kind of help, you know, give ideas. And he's like a musical genius and stuff. So, but on this album, just like we had a lot more people involved. In the past, it's just been us typically, maybe like a mixer guy too. But I think it really like benefited this album having all these extra heads involved and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think like fresh eyes and ears.
Mm.
And I noticed your guitar strap the duct tape, and I like the kind of like DIY aspect and like do it
Yeah.
yourself. So this one you're talking about music as a scam. You kind of collaborated with like a larger team. So I guess like moving forward, like do you think you'll merge like the DIY aspect and the more kind of production intensive aspect, or like which do you prefer or like?
Well, even this time, there was still a good bit of the DIY thing, just if for no other reason that we're poor and like studio
Scrappy.
time. Yeah, I mean, we spent 3 days in the studio in like the professional studio and did the foundation tracks, the drums, the bass, guitar, or key or piano, and then basically mostly did all the other overdubs back at home, um, just to basically save money and
Yeah.
so like all the vocals and two of the songs have brass like horns on
Cool.
them. We did those at home, and our old we used to be a four-piece for many years, and our old lead guitarist Kelly Otwell contributed on 2 tracks, but he did those overdubs at our home studio too. So there was that DIY element as well, and we used the same guy for most of the mixing too, who's been sort of our long time mixer guy in part because he does it for so such affordable rates for us. But yeah, I mean, even this is definitely the most we've spent on making and putting out a record. Out of this is our fifth one, but. She's a tattoo graveyard, a neighborhood standard. People say she glows in the dark. If you're not worried, then you got no courage. You can't even save your good looks. Knock down and pull out and caught up in lost time for a There were no accidents or cars on the road, no proverbial landslide across for remorse. You're holding the ace card up against your chest. Seemed like a safe place to rest. She's a tattoo graveyard, a neighborhood standard. People say she glows in the dark. And if you're not worried, then you got no courage. You can't even save your good looks. And knock down and pulled out and caught up in lost time for a So you hold up on the other side of town. You've got your ways to keep people around. It's been a long, hard morning in your war-torn body. You just wanna watch some TV. There were no accidents or cars on the road.
Yeah, and so would you guys call yourself punk or?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of, well, I don't know that we'd call ourselves a punk band, but punk is certainly um, underscores a lot of what we do. I mean, we grew up listening to punk, and it plays a big part, big influence. But it's not, certainly not all of our songs are punk rock. We have, I'd say, on this album, there's like maybe about a third of them are,
Yeah.
and then yeah, there's some ballads, and I play piano on four of the songs, so those are more. I don't know, almost prog rock. And I was talking earlier about sort of a theatrical sound. The piano ones tend to have a more almost show tune mixed with punk rock.
Show tune mixed with punk rock. That's cool. Yeah, I was thinking like it might be like sprinkled in or throughout, and I don't think like once I said like do you call yourself punk, I was like that's pigeonholing. So
I mean, I could do an acoustic rendition of one of the punk ones.
that would be cool. I was just thinking, for some reason the sound reminded me of Death Cab for Cutie, like at one point.
I could see that.
Yeah, but yeah, if you want to do an acoustic of a punk, that'd be cool. Let's see how they mix.
This is the opening song, "Buried by the Wave." Get your man on the phone, let him know I'm here, and that I came to tell him all my great ideas. We're gonna fix this town, we're gonna clean it up, paint everything pink and purple out with spots and right away until the uh-oh get carried away until it's all now buried by the wave. Come on, spit it out. What are you trying to say? Let's make it quick, boy, I got plans for you today. You can't do this alone, and that's why I'm here. Jump in the back, boy, I'ma get behind the wheel and drive away until the uh-oh get carried away until it's all now buried by the wave. Buried by the wave, buried by the wave, buried by the wave, buried by the wave, by the wave, by the wave. Buried by the wave, buried by the wave, buried, buried by the wave, by the wave, by the wave,
Obviously amazing at guitar. You mentioned piano. What was your musical progression? Like, what did you start with and blah, blah, blah?
Actually, my first instrument was the drums when I was like 13 or something. It was funny because my dad hated rock and roll.
Huh.
But he,
How'd you get those?
yeah, he bought me a drum set like for Christmas one year or something.
Cruel joke.
I know, which surprised me. But then, yeah, I had a friend who played guitar, so we like started a band then. But then I picked up guitar at like 15 or 14, and I mean, all the bands I was in high school though, I played the drums and sang, like, and then, yeah, basically started doing more being out in front after that, and didn't actually pick up piano until later in life. But I think because I'd been playing all these other instruments, I dabbled in banjo too, and learned how to play the ukulele and played bass guitar and stuff like that. And so I think once I finally got to the piano and actually earnestly tried to learn it, it actually ended up coming not too difficultly. I basically just watched a bunch of Beatles tutorials
Really?
on YouTube and stuff to learn how to play. But yeah, and my brother, when I was a kid, when I was like in middle school, I was listening to top 40 terrible music, and he
Mhm.
gave me like a music education. He's 9 years older than me, but over a series of birthdays and Christmases, he'd give me like 5 CDs each time. It was, and they would like 5 from the 50s, 5 from the 60s, 70s.
What a gift!
It was pretty awesome. But after that, I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And my dad never forgave him.
Thank you for the gifts.
Yeah, but yeah, that was basically what happened. And then I was actually thinking about it today. I was talking to you earlier about studying Soviet history for a while. Like, I was in grad school, but I was thinking earlier today that I've only really ever been good at two things, and that was going to school and making music. I sometimes joke that if we were to have like total societal collapse, I mean, I'm not particularly, a big fella. I probably, I think my best chance at survival would be to find some warlord and be the court jester there,
Yes.
you know.
Oldest
'Cause,
profession.
yeah, I can sing and I can make jokes and stuff, and so
Oh my
I
gosh.
feel like I could have some value in that position in a post-apocalyptic world. So that's my card for the future, I guess. My ace card, if you. One thing I would be remiss not to mention is we are doing a. We've not been playing live for a bit, but we'll be back at Neptune's on April 5th, playing an actual live show, and we are playing also a an invite DL house show on Saturday, March 8th. That if anybody wants to come to, like really badly, you can just message us on the interweb.
That's on me. I was thinking house party rager. What do you see in the future for music in lieu of day cafe raves, pop up events, sustainability, the individual algorithm, social media?
No, I do because I think that that's maybe our way out of this is not getting trapped in formal like by formality, like that you have to do things at a venue, like a historical venue. You know, like you can do things in other, you can do throw things at houses. You know, to loop back around from my Soviet studies, you know, as the Soviet Union was collapsing in the '80s, there was sort of it's when the Soviet rock and roll golden age was the 1980s, and all that music was banned officially by the state. So it was just all house shows. It was all underground. And I mean, I just know from playing music for years and years that like DIY house shows are always the most fun ones to play because like people are engaged and you know a lot of times you play at a bar, people aren't there to necessarily see a band. They're just there to drink and maybe play Jenga or something. Who knows?
Might play Jenga tonight. Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, I really do think like you know to kind of latch onto a common thread throughout this discussion that like stuff like that can really facilitate and grow community in ways that um, yeah, just like throwing a show at a bar or something. I don't.
Punk rock ruined my life. How has music impacted your trajectory? Or how do you fuse genres like in Breakfast Schmeckfest or Can't Keep Up, Hunky Tonky, or Exile, or Foot in the Door, Inspiration Behind? You pick and play.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer both if that's all right. The punk rock ruined my life is sort of a joke novelty song. A friend and I years ago were joking about punk rock having ruined our life. I mean, we were just like making self-deprecating jokes about being losers, and we had this idea that we were gonna form like a nonprofit and go to like local high schools and like give inspirational speeches about how punk rock had ruined our life.
Do not listen.
And like pass out Eagles records and stuff, you know.
Oh, okay.
Or like Bad Company or something. Um, so then, just out of that inside joke, I ended up writing a song that kind of has a lot of those thoughts. And I guess it was whenever we put that song out, 2023, 2024, I can't remember. But it, we were sort of in a lull at the time. It just was like, hey, let's record this. We can do it. It had been around. The song had been around forever, but it had never been recorded. So we were like, let's throw this together. And then we shot a video for it downtown, out in front of Munjo. That was pretty fun and stuff. And we got like random passerbyers to participate.
Cool. Wait, I'll put that up.
Yeah, please do. We have actually a lot of music videos up on our YouTube that I would urge people to check out. We have one called Jenny where we used puppets and made like it's like Pulp Fiction or Natural Born Killers, but starring puppets. And then we have a substantial library of music videos. A lot of them have been directed by our bass player Clayton Heron. He's sort of a big film guy. And we did one with Firestar Wrestling in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is a wrestling school, a professional wrestling school. I didn't know
Did
that.
you know this?
I didn't know that such a thing existed until we shot the video with him. And we did another one with Gary Spivey, who is a celebrity psychic who lives out in Star, North Carolina. He's got like this huge white hair. But we we've tried on a few occasions to like loop in other people like nearby that like have it's like a collaborative so and
Awesome.
we did the wrestling one like during COVID because we couldn't play shows and we also did another video with like a bunch of stage actors. Couldn't do stuff during COVID, but and then as far as like our hopping between genres, I mean, for whatever reason, it seems to all fit together and blend together. In what I think it's just all under the larger umbrella of rock and roll, and that just as like you kind of life is complicated and filled with different emotions. I mean, all of this, the songs sort of touch on different aspects of the experience, so not all of them are gonna fit into a certain sound. You don't want to pigeonhole ourselves.
Mm-mm. Nor be derivative or something like that.
We definitely don't want to be derivative. That's the main goal.
Main goal. Well, I think that's cool. Fusing it just kind of comes together, and there's an intuition of like what fits and what can be explored.
Yeah, I mean, like, not saying that we're anything like the Beatles, but I mean, no one ever.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
We're not, but I'm just saying that like they're also like kind of all over the place. I mean, it seemed to me
yeah,
like the Who's Tommy album, or like I don't know, just lots of old bands used to do a lot more genre hopping, and then it seemed to become more specialized or something at some point where you couldn't step out of your genre as easily.
yeah.
I mean, I guess if you find success with a certain sound, you want to maybe stay there and not alienate your fans with something different. But yeah, I mean, I think like one band that I think is a good comp to us in some sense is the Replacements. Like
I know them.
They're kind of all over the place, but like sort of a raw rock and roll sound is really what undercuts it all. Can you believe this is all that's left of us now? At one point there were 8 of us living in that house. Back then the city didn't come as far out. That was back before the city swallowed up all the stars. Do you remember that ugly floral pattern couch? Used to picture little mazes on it and try to trace my way out. I couldn't ever do it, but I try every day. Some fates are impossible to shake. Does it feel like we're dragging something out? Why hasn't someone already torn this place down? It feels like we're dragging something out. I wonder who put all these padlocks and chains on all the doors. They look like they've been here for a couple decades or more. Mom sold this place for nothing after we all split. At this point, nothing's more than change yet. It feels like we're dragging something out. So let's come back tonight and get out. Do you remember that summer when the Blair Girls drowned? There's still tributes and remembrances to all over town. That was the same summer your dad got sick. I don't think you were seeing too many tributes to him. Does it feel like we're dragging something out? Let's come back tonight and burn it down. My name's Wilson Getchell. I'm from the band Thirsty Curses. Just so you can put
Yes,
that if you
face
need to
your name.
insert that.
Yeah. This is Evie with WKNC. I want to thank Wilson from Thirsty Curses for gabbing, chatting, playing. Thank you so much, Wilson from Thirsty Curses!
Hey, thanks for having me so much. This was a lot of fun.